So once again, I want to thank you guys for being able to come out tonight and learn a few things about what's happening here in the Richmond, Virginia housing market, as well as the potential things that the recession could have as an impact on housing here in Richmond. But I'll be honest, you'll be surprised to see why a recession generally does not have an impact when it comes to home prices and home values and things of that sort. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Oh, my screen. Okay, here we go. So what we'll go over today, just a little bit about who I am. We'll also talk about the housing market, as I mentioned. We'll also go over what a recession actually is and why a recession generally does not affect the housing market. We'll also talk about the home buying process and strategies here in Virginia, and then we'll talk about a plan moving forward. So my name is Sid Stewart. I'm with Fathom Realty. I was born and raised in Philadelphia. Go Birds. And I'm a husband of 3 wonderful children. I have multiple years in real estate as an investor, as well as creating great strategies, and also as a consultant, helping first-time home buyers, as well as folks who may be looking to downsize on their current residence that they're in now. And I've also helped with, of course, investing heavily with strategic partnerships in the local community. So let's go over a little bit about the housing market. Virginia itself is generally always a good place to either buy or invest in real estate. So of course, with everything going on right now with the corona, the economy is of course hurting a bit, but generally overall, Virginia is a great place from an economical standpoint. We have great companies such as Capital One that's here, Genworth Financial is also here, CarMax. They're great places that are just here locally in Richmond, but of course throughout the state, we have even bigger companies up in Northern Virginia. So one quote that I love that Will Rogers has stated is, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Meaning most folks may think that real estate could be a quick, become rich very quickly off of buying real estate, but that's generally not the case. It's a buy and hold principle where real estate will appreciate actually over time. So let's take a look at what buying versus renting looks like in the city of Richmond. I received this slide from the good folks over at Movement Mortgage. What the slide depicts and actually shows is for a $250,000 house versus actually renting a property here in Richmond. If you take a look at the left-hand side, you'll see what the first year will look like when purchasing your property. You'll end up putting your down payment down. Your monthly payment would be $1,068. You'll have your property taxes and insurance, and you'll also have your maintenance and repairs that you'll generally pay on a monthly basis. And please note that this is based off of having a 3.25 interest rate as your mortgage rate, which would be fixed over the term of your actual mortgage. So generally, most mortgages are for 30 years. If you think at this for over 30 years, your interest rate would stay put at 3.25%. Now, this is looking at a scale for over a 9-year period. If you were to look at your first year for actually renting, your monthly payment would be a little bit cheaper the first year compared to what it would be when you purchase your house your first year. But if you look down the road to year 9, based off of things such as costs going up for landlords or inflation, the balance of your monthly payment would actually be $2,384, which is a nice increase from what you would actually be paying statistically fixed monthly at $1,600. But if you take a look at the graph there, the purple bars represent how your actual, your rent increases year over year compared to where your mortgage would stay put. And the key thing, if you take a look towards the bottom half of the graph here, you'll have your cash flow actually increasing meaning as you continue to pay down your loan, so you'll see your amortization gain, which would be $50,000. As you continue to pay down your loan, you actually gain more equity in your property because you're going to owe less, and then your house is continuing to appreciate. As you can see here on the left-hand side, your appreciation would be around $91,000 on a 9-year period, which would definitely be able to have you to make a great investment compared to over a 9-year period where you're not cash flowing or paying down your loan or investing in yourself over time. So if you were to take the combination of that, your yearly appreciation, as well as what you were paying down on your loan, you'd be around $147,000 profit in your property over a 9-year period. I don't think your landlord is going to be able to give you $147,000 over a 9-year period, nor would they probably want to. But investing in your own home, you would be able to do so. So let's talk about what a recession actually is. So a lot of the experts or financial experts are saying that we are in a recession now. A recession generally just means an economic slowdown. So this includes two consecutive quarters of economic downturn. And what we really want to know is, how does this actually impact housing? Let's take a look at the past 40 years on what recessions have actually done when it comes to the housing market. If it's actually impacted it, if it's made it if it's caused prices to go down, if homes haven't appreciated. So this is actually on a national average, and this slide comes from CoreLogic, who's the National Home Price Index. Over the last 5 recessions, you can see home prices actually have appreciated. I see a few comments coming in. Hold on 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Susan, it isn't expect mine to go up even more. Okay, I totally agree, Susan. So let's get back into it. Sorry about that, guys. So if we take a look at what has happened for the recession, the past 5 recessions that have taken place in the U.S. On a national average in 1980, when that recession hit, homes still appreciated at a 6.1% value. 1981, they appreciated at 3.5. 1991, you can see where they actually declined a bit, but it was only at 1.9%. If you were to look at those first 2 years, you would still be up on appreciation from that perspective for what took place in 1991. In 2001, that's when 9/11 hit. Homes still appreciated on a national average at 6.6%. As you can see, in 2008, that's when we had the huge drop off when it came to home prices, and that was based off of the recession because of the housing market. Lenders were getting a little bit greedy in terms of lending to folks who they should not have lent to, folks who were not able to qualify appropriately for jobs, not qualify for mortgages. There were folks who were teachers making $40,000 a year. I know because I lived in the Washington, D.C. area for some time. They made about $40,000 a year, and they were getting $500,000 plus houses. If you do the math there, just in your head, that doesn't add up, but yet they were still getting loans. So if we take a look at the annual home price appreciation, once again, this is across all of the United States. This is on a national basis. This slide also comes from Black Knight. Leading up to the housing crash, home prices appreciated greatly all throughout the early 2000s. They were pretty much overappreciated during that time. They were inflated. But as you can see, after 2008, when that crash actually took place in the housing crash, home prices stayed steady for the last 6 years. The most they have actually gone up was actually in 2017, where they were at 6.4%. So as Americans and as the financial institutions, a lot of folks have learned not to overprice homes and use them as cash cows, of course, and we'll get into that a little bit on looking at homes being overvalued and being stretched too far. This slide here is actually coming from the National Association of Realtors. What it shows is back in 2007 and 2008, you can kind of put those two together, there were way more homes on the market than there are now currently across the nation. If you were to look at how much inventory was out there, there was 8.2% months worth of inventory, which is way too many homes to be on the market, which caused housing prices to go down because it's a supply and demand effect. There were way more houses. You had banks foreclosing on folks' homes. You had people who were walking away from homes, people were losing jobs, which all was a domino effect that caused a whole lot of more houses to be on the market than it actually should be. Now, if we look at today, the housing market is much stronger. We actually have an inventory issue. There are a lot of folks who are trying to find homes who actually can't, because as of today, on a national average, we're at about 3 months worth of inventory. It's actually shorter than that in Richmond. This slide here is actually coming from Freddie Mac. Freddie Mac is is the sister company to Fannie Mae. So Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are very big players when it comes to the housing market. A lot of folks don't get to see them because all they see is they're facing mortgage company, meaning if you're working with Bank of America, if you're working with Virginia Credit Union to get a loan or anything of that sort. The key is for Fannie and Freddie to be so important is because what they'll do is they'll purchase the loans that actually are created by mom and pop shops or the Bank of Americas of the world, sometimes Wells Fargo. Those companies will turn around, they will sell your loan to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in order to replenish money into the marketplace to create liquidity so they can continue to lend money for folks to buy homes. Just to give you a little bit of background who Freddie Mac actually is. So we still take a look at understanding how this housing market or this recession won't impact housing the same way that 2008 did. Back in 2005 to 2007, people were utilizing their homes as ATM machines. They were taking money out over and over and over again and buying boats, buying cars, things that weren't even really necessities for during that time. I know back in 2006, 2005, my team, the Philadelphia Eagles, when they went to the Super Bowl finally, of course, a lot of our fans were so excited. They were so excited that they took out lines of credit from their house. If the cost, so they could be able to buy plane tickets, Super Bowl tickets, and as well as food and everything down in Jacksonville, Florida, where the Super Bowl was that year. They took out the Super Bowl tickets alone were $5,000. And that's not including housing and everything else that they needed to get down there. But people, like I said, were utilizing their homes as cash cows or ATM machines in order to buy pretty much whatever. But if you take a look at the right-hand column of where we are now, 2017 to 2019, as Americans, we wised up. We're not taking out so much money from our homes and just utilizing it just for whatever. We're actually putting the money back into our homes or possibly utilizing it for our children's education. So we're not going crazy. We're not buying cars the same way we were before. We're fixing up our houses, fixing up the kitchens, bathrooms, whatever it may be. Because as you can see, 2018 was the highest year of refinances compared to 2006, which is a humongous difference from $321 billion. This slide here is coming from Goldman Sachs. They're actually forecasting the GDP. The GDP just stands for the gross domestic product, meaning if you were to think of every industry in the United States, so if you think of real estate, you think of retail, natural gas, all of those different industries make up the GDP for the US. So what they're predicting is we'll probably contract a little bit. So we'll lose a bit of value in our GDP for the United States in Q1. Please keep in mind, this slide actually came out in March of 2017 of this year, and things have already changed because we all know things are changing pretty quickly. As of now, I believe they're actually estimating for Q4 to be a big uptick in our economy overall, because hopefully if the virus doesn't stick around for too long, if there's a vaccine that comes out, because they're trying to push things through a lot quicker now, by the Q4, hopefully folks will be able to get their lives back a little bit. And they're almost anticipating a V-shaped recovery. So if you were to look at it, if you think of a V itself, we were up here, all the way up at the top when we were actually in the beginning of the year, and we started going on a downtrend. But they're thinking by Q4 you'll hit around the bottom a little bit, and then it'll be a tick up. So hopefully they're guessing that around Q4 our economy should hopefully start to come back. So how has COVID-19 impacted the actual Virginia housing market? So let's take a look at what things are happening locally. This slide here is coming from Showing Time. Showing Time is our internal system for realtors that we utilize, and it'll show you how many showings are taking place throughout the state of Virginia. This slide will show you exactly what happened before COVID and then what's happening after COVID. And this slide is actually created as of yesterday. So if you took a look at January of this year, things were starting to tick up a bit, not compared to so much with 2019. 2019 is actually in the blue, and 2020 is in the orange. 2019, there were definitely more showings, and we were starting to get on that trend to go that way. But as once COVID hit, because as you know, the governor shut us all down pretty early and locked us away about around mid-March, and that's exactly where everything started to tank off. But if you take a look closely at April 15th, things started to tick up again. So folks are actually going out and taking a look at houses again. It dipped off a little bit yesterday, but believe it or not, folks are still going out and buying homes now. So let's take a look even more local here in the city of Richmond. This slide here is coming from our MLS system, which is another internal system that realtors utilize to be able to see how many homes have sold during a certain month, how many listings are actually out there, pending listings, how much inventory, things of that sort. So if you look at the middle column, what it's actually showing you year over year. So March of 2019 compared to March of 2020. If you take a look, there were more listings this year in March than there were last year. 2019, there were 323 listings, and 2020, there were 337. There were 293 pending listings, and there were actually there were a little bit more homes that closed in 2019 compared to 2020, but you can see there was still a whole lot of activity even during the month of March when COVID hit. The days on the market, so homes weren't sitting on the market for very long at all compared to 2019. They were only on for about 26 days, so they were only on for less than 30 days compared to 2019. So their homes were selling faster. Not to mention the median sales price for a home rose for single family homes from $271,000 to $280,000 in the month of March from 2019 to 2020. The average sales price, it went down just a little bit from the previous year. The inventory of homes for sale has actually gone down. As I mentioned before, we have a shortage of inventory. In 2019, there were 1.6 months worth of inventory compared to 1.3%. That kind of gives you definitely an idea of that folks are still buying during this time. We're waiting for the April numbers to come out. They produce those generally about a week after the month ends. But then we take a look at over in the next column for year to date. This column is actually showing you from January of 2019 through March of 2019 compared to January of 2020 to March of 2020. As you can see, there were more listings once again, more homes that were pending to sell. There were actually a few more homes that closed, and the actual days on market were actually shorted too. Also, folks, their homes appreciated at least 10,000 more than what they were the previous year. And the average sales price was actually up as well. And down below speaks to the same information, but for condos and townhomes. So that, as you can see, that it's a little bit different. We have way more single family homes here in the Richmond market than we actually have as townhomes or condos. You do see a lot of new developments popping up for new construction for townhomes. So what does the current financial market look like? AKA, what does a take to get into a home now. So just as a full disclosure, I am not a mortgage broker, but I do know quite a few that I can get you in contact with that could assist you when you are ready to move forward with buying a mortgage. But this slide here is also provided by Freddie Mac. If you take a look at the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate, in June of 2018, it was 4.54%. In December of 2018, it ticked up the most, 4.75%. But it's been on a decline ever since. It actually hit an all-time low around the end of March, the end of February, beginning of March, at 3.29%, which makes homes way more extremely affordable. Lenders really could not even be able to, they really couldn't keep up with all the refinancing requests that came in, because folks were able to save hundreds of dollars on their mortgage. We actually refinanced our home early March, and we were able to save quite an amount of money on our mortgage by taking full advantage of this. So let's go into a little bit about what the home buying process is like. We'll go into getting started, what pre-qualification looks like, going through your home search online, as well as getting all the way to escrow, meaning just when you're able to close on your property. So the first thing, of course, everyone starts out at the starting line. We get the desire to say, hey, honey, let's take a look at some homes online, or even if you're single, you want to be able to start looking at homes online. You just start desiring it a little bit more. You start to go over your budget and understand timelines, understand the area and the price range that you want to move into. And one of the key things is to be able to connect with a realtor who can help you understand the marketplace and what inventory is available, or even the shadow inventory, meaning if you're searching online, shadow inventory are homes that aren't listed on the MLS, the multiple listing services. So if you're going on Zillow or Realtor.com or anything like that, you won't see some of the houses that we're able to have access to or know of that not everybody else would. Your next step would definitely be getting pre-qualified. So meeting with a qualified lender who can review your financials and specify your actual monthly mortgage payment, and to help you to be able to get pre-approved to at least go out and start shopping for homes. Then, of course, you go into your home search, where you look for homes, go out and make offers for homes that you actually are interested in. Once your home actually gets under contract and you made an offer, your next step is to go through an inspection. Then the inspection process is very important, as your inspector will go through the house thoroughly. One thing they will disclose to you is that they cannot see through walls, but everything externally, they'll be able to tell you, hey, the roof is a little bit old. You might want to negotiate a credit for that. Or your hot water heater looks like it may be on a fringe. You might want to also budget for that as well. Then your next step, of course, is getting an appraisal on your property to make sure that it's within the value that it's being priced at, or that you're at least purchasing it at, because a lender will not lend to you if the home does not appraise for what your purchase price is. Then your next step is to get the escrow, and that is where you'll actually go to your closing office to be able to close on the property. Then, of course, getting to the finish line, you signed on the home itself. I tell a lot of my clients to be able to go to the gym a little bit to get their risk ready, because they're going to be signing a whole lot of papers that day. But it's a fun time at the same time. It's very exciting. Your home will be funded, and the home will be recorded at the county, and then you are officially a homeowner. So with everything going on with COVID right now, the question is, a lot of folks want to know is, how do you actually get out to see homes in your marketplace? So to keep everyone safe, what we're doing are virtual home showings. A lot of realtors, such as myself, we're going out and helping our clients by viewing the homes for them. So as we're on a Zoom call right now, we would also do a Zoom call for whichever property. You say, hey, Sid, I want to go see 123 Banana Street. I say, great, let's go take a look at it. I'll go out, I'll have you guys on a Zoom call to keep you safe and abide by the guidelines that have been put out by the federal government, to be able to keep you safe from not getting sick or anything like that. I can walk through. Of course, most folks want to have that feeling. I totally get that, of hey, is this the right house? And are there any terrible smells in here? One thing I would say as realtors, we don't want to go into a house that stinks either. That's no fun for anyone. So we would definitely disclose that to you as I walk through the house, and be able to describe everything to you. But the virtual tours definitely help provide a little bit more a little more safety and guidance to being able to see homes during this time. And there are disclosures that are out now where if you decide to purchase a home, you can have a disclosure for COVID-19 where you could bump the sell date out if you want to still be able to physically get into the house so you can see it yourself. And of course, as I mentioned, Zoom meetings are great when it comes to going out to see a property and being able to do conference meetings. So in general, everything I've kind of gone over, we see typically it takes about 10 weeks to get through everything, to have the desire to want to buy a house, to find your right realtor, to be able to get financing, shopping, finally going out to see homes, and going through the whole closing process. We like to be able to tell folks that so they can have an idea of setting their game plan on when it's time to actually go out and start shopping for homes. One key thing I always try to point out to a lot of my clients is being able to have a 1 to 5 year plan when it comes to buying your house. You need to know and understand why you want to buy a home. Some folks want to purchase homes for investment purposes. Some folks are just tired of paying rent. Whatever your why is, understand why you're moving through the process, because sometimes hiccups do come in, but understand that during the buying process, but just understand why you're starting out to do it anyway. You want to be able to put your kids in a better school district. A lot of folks want to do that. You need more room. I'm sure when we come out of this quarantine, there might be a lot of people saying, I need more space. I'm tired of seeing and being on top of my family. We love our family, but some folks need a little bit more space now. You also want to be able to make sure what you want to do with your life when it comes to real estate. Do you want to invest, as I mentioned before? Do you want to have multiple properties in your portfolio so you can make a monthly income? Things of that sort. And how do you hope that real estate will actually help you get there? Keep these questions in mind that'll help you get through your 1 to 3 year, 5 year or beyond plan. The next step is definitely to schedule a one-on-one consultation where I myself or anyone else could be able to sit down, go over your personal needs, your personal needs, and be able to go over your goals and any other needs that you may have, and come up with a solid game plan for purchasing your home. Of course, as I just mentioned, being able to game plan and definitely overview your resources, roadblocks, tools, and opportunities to help you to get started in purchasing. So as I mentioned earlier, I know that during this time, you could be doing anything. And I do appreciate your time coming out today. For your time this evening, I'm booking consultations at least within the next 48 hours. I'm doing this special offer. For folks who book a consultation with me in the next 48 hours, I have an amazing offer. It's so good that I can't even share it on here. The offer is like I said, I can't even mention it because I had last time I did this workshop, I went through some consultations, and the individual that I spoke to, they were shocked and blown away. But I would love to be able to speak with anyone on this call further to be able to go over what your special needs are, exactly what it is that you're looking for when it comes to buying a home, how far out you may think you may be, just any questions that you may have overall. And then by also booking a free consultation, I'm going to give you my free book, The Top 10 Mistakes Home Buyers Make, for free. No cost at all. When you sign up for a consultation, I will provide that to you. So in order to be able to sign up for a consultation, just go to, I'll also put it in the chat, is workwithsidstewart.com/free consultation. And I will drop that in the chat right now. If I can get to it. I'll drop that in the chat, I'm sorry. There's a few more slides here. So in order to be able to connect on Facebook, YouTube, as well as Instagram, you can follow me on all of those platforms. This is my contact information, where our office is located out on the West End. It's my email address, phone number, and my website. So if you guys have any questions, and I'm going to leave this website up there so everyone can take a look at it, that'd be great. I'm going to drop this in the chat. All right, I think I see a question coming in. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Susan. The phone number, I'll type it in right here. There's my phone number. And then here's the page, guys, for the consultation. And that's the page for, you're welcome, Susan. That's the page for the free consultation. I'd love to be able to answer any questions that you guys may have right now. Does anyone have any questions at all? And I'll wait a minute because I know sometimes there could be a little bit of a delay. All right, everyone. Oh, sorry, there is a question. I'll take that back. So Ellie has a question. Can you briefly discuss credit in home buying? Hopefully I can answer this correctly. So when it comes to credit, I can't, the lenders are changing their terms a lot when it comes to what your credit score is to be able to be qualified. Before everything hit, meaning COVID and everything, you needed to get an FHA loan. So an FHA loan is a Federal Housing Association loan, and you generally only need to put down 3.5% for your down payment to be able to buy a home. There's also a whole lot of other programs that will help you to be able to purchase as well. You have VHDA. You also will have, if you're military, you can have a VA loan. But I will say, for an FHA loan, before everything hit, you only really needed a credit score about 620. There are lenders out there who will go below that, around, I know some that may be around 580, 575. Don't quote me on that. We can definitely talk to a lender to get you in contact with someone, Ellie, to see if it would be a good fit. But anything, I would definitely say over a 700 credit score will get you a really good interest rate. Does that answer your question? I hope I was able to answer it. Perfect, great. Susan wants to know, can you explain pre-qualification versus pre-approved? So once again, I'm not a mortgage broker, but I can talk to it a little bit. So when you get pre-approved, generally they have, a lot of lenders have a tool called a desktop underwriter. So I was telling you guys earlier about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, how they purchase loans. A lot of lenders, what they'll do is they'll make sure that the loans that they're originating fit the box for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, so they can easily purchase it. So what they'll do is they'll go through and put your information into what they call a desktop underwriter, and they'll see, hey, Fannie or Freddie will buy this loan, or someone in the secondary mortgage market will, and they'll be able to at least give you a pre-approval off of those guidelines. But you still need to go through the full underwriting process when it comes to being fully qualified. I think pre-qualification, don't quote me on this, and pre-approval could be the same thing, but what you ultimately want is a full qualification on your loan. So you want to go through the full underwriting process, which digs a little, the lenders dig a little deeper into your financial history. So things that may come up on your credit report, they may have questions around that. They're going to want bank statements for a couple of months. They're going to want any other type of income that you have coming in, and being able to verify that, things of that sort, or the items that they're going to want. But the place that you really want to be in is a fully qualified loan, Because if you're still out shopping for homes, and if you show a home seller that you have a fully qualified loan, you're going to probably beat out a lot of folks who may have just a pre-qualification or a pre-approval. Because it's basically saying the bank says, hey, I have the loan right here for the person right now. We don't have to wait forever to go through underwriting. They're already good to go.